Welcome to Computer Basics 101. This course assumes that you can start up the computer and that it has been set up with a login username and password. It is intended for people who are new to Windows 10 and who'd like to learn the basics of the operating system so that they can progress and be able to use email, web browsers and social media, all of which helps us to stay connected during these difficult times. I'm not going to be going into details of how to use those applications in this course, but I will be covering them in a subsequent one. So to start off with, we need to log in. First of all, we need to pick the user we want to log in as. If we've got multiple users, we can see here there are two different ones. I'm just going to log in as my main user, which is Jason. So I click on the sign in button, and if I've got a password, I put my password in there. Right, once we've actually logged into the main screen, we are taken to what is known as the desktop. There's a bit of an office analogy going on with Windows, where we have things, we have a desktop, we have files and folders and so forth. I'll be going into that in more detail. So the main area here is known as the desktop, and it's on the desktop that you can put your documents, your files, your folders, and so on. We then have down in the bottom left hand corner, we have the start menu. Again, I will go into that in more detail in a minute. Down here we have the search box. So this is the search area here, followed by the task bar, which is where we have shortcuts to applications, and we can see which applications are currently running. Down here we have the navigation pane, which gives us quick access to certain areas like networking, the battery status if we're on a laptop, volume level. If, for instance, I click on the volume, I can open the mixer up, or I can just change the volume level. In the right hand corner we have the notification pane. Here I will see a number of messages, including what's going on with the system, if updates have been installed, and also there are a number of panes down here which gives us quick access to certain settings. Up here we have what is called a folder, folders, and here we have a document. Folders are where you store documents. So if I wanted to, I could put that into my documents folder. Which leads me on to the next thing, which is how we interact with Windows. Well, to move around the screen, as you've seen, we've been using this pointer. In order to move the pointer around, we move the mouse, or if we're on a laptop, we use the trackpad, which is that area below the space bar, which if we move our finger on it, the pointer moves. So we can move around. And if we move over certain items, you can see a little pop-up appears telling you a bit more about it. In this case, I can see that's a rich text document. It's 119 bytes in size, and it shows the date and the time it was last modified. And similar information is shown for the folder. So that's how we can move around. But how do we actually select things? Well, to select things, we click, which means we go to it and we press the mouse, or we press the trackpad. So that is a single click. Single click. See, we are single clicking. Now, if I single click and then hold the mouse down, I can then drag a device so I can take it with me. So it's not a question of clicking and then releasing the mouse, because it's selected, but I'm not taking it with me. I have to click and then drag. Click and drag. Same with folders, click and drag, so I can just move it around. Okay, now that moves on to the next thing, which is a right click. The right click is where you can click with the right hand mouse button. On the top of the mouse you normally have a left button and a right. If you click on the right mouse button, you get a contextual menu come up, which is a list of options. So I can do things like I could open it, I could print it. If I selected print, it would open it and then it would print it. I could do that with separate mouse clicks, but if you want a nice quick way of doing it, we can do it like that. We can share it, we can cut it, copy it, paste it, rename it. We can look at properties, which gives us more information on there. There's lots of different options. So that is a right click. If we right click on a folder, we get a slightly different set of options appear. And you can have a look at different things and what happens if you right click on them. Okay, so that's your right click. Then we have a double click. Double click's done with the left mouse button. If we double click on a folder, so click, we open it and we press the close button up here to close it down. So click, open, press the close button. We've also got here, we've got a minimize. If we press that, it will just disappear it. It'll minimize it right down. If we press that, it will maximize it. So that will take it up to take up the full screen. And here we close it down. So that's double click on a folder. If we double click on a document, we will actually open that document. So if we click twice, click, we've opened the document up. We can now read it. Press the X in the top right hand corner and we close it down. So click, we've opened it, click on there, closes it down. Now when we're in documents, we can also click within the text, but I will go into that in more details in a minute. Right, the next thing I want to talk about quickly is modifier keys. Well, if we go into this folder here, and then we open up, I've got a picture here of a keyboard, which makes it a little bit easier to explain. Here is a basic Windows keyboard. We have a thing called modifier keys. Now the obvious one is the Shift key, which normally has an up arrow to it, and it's normally sort of twice the width of a normal key, and you have a Shift key on the left and a Shift key on the right. Now when you press the Shift key, you will access additional set of characters. So the top line, where we are showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have characters such as an exclamation mark, we have an @ symbol, we have a pound symbol there, or a hash, and so forth. And when you press the Shift key and 1, you'll get that exclamation mark. When you press the 2, you'll get the @ symbol, and so forth. If you press Shift and A, you'll get a capital A. Shift and S, you'll get a capital S. Without the Shift, you get a lowercase one. If you press caps lock, that would permanently lock the Shift on, so that when you press A, you'll get capital A, capital S, capital D. So if you wanted to type something all in capitals, you could press caps lock and then just start typing, and then everything will be in capitals. Note that on Windows, if you press caps lock on, you will also have access to the top line of the keyboard here. Right, what other modifications modifiers do you have? You've got the control, the function, and the alt key. Now, the control key, when you press with certain keys, will do shortcuts. For example, if you want to save a document, you could go to the File menu and choose Save. Or you could press Control, and whilst holding it, you press the S, that would save. Or Control and P would print a document. Or Control and C would copy it. Control and V would paste it. Now, you can find these in help manuals and so forth. There are lots of places where it'll show you what the shortcuts are, and I'll show you a bit of those later on where you can find some of the shortcuts, but that's what the control is for. The alt is a similar one. The Windows button just gives access to the start menu, so when I press that, the start menu will pop up. So like that. If I press the Windows key, the start menu pops up and disappears. The function is a slightly unusual one. Now, if you see the top layer of the keyboard here, we have the F keys, F1, F2, F3, F4, and there's also some other functions here. Like if you look carefully, they've got things like volume up, volume down, brightness up, brightness down. Now, when you press the function key, you access those additional functions. Now, the keyboard might be set up so by default, when you press, for instance, how's the volume up on this one? When you press, F11, then you've got volume down, and when you press F12, it goes volume up. If you press the function key, that becomes F11, and that becomes F12. So it really depends on which way your keyboard is set up, but you can work that out for yourself. That's fairly straightforward. So that is our modifier keys. I'm just going to close that down, and I'm going to close that window down. Okay, a little more explanation on Windows generally. Right, if we open up a window here, so this is what is called a window. It's actually a folder in this case. And we will see on the left-hand side here, we see a list of different places, different things. Desktop, that's where things on my desktop are stored. I've got my pictures folder, I've got my downloads folder, and some of my own custom folders here. At the top here, I have various options. I can select a particular folder and I can look at the properties of that. Also notice we could have right-clicked on that and chosen properties there. Another way of doing exactly the same thing. Here we have the new folder tool. So if we click on that, we'll create an empty folder. So we can use that to create our own folders. Right. Then we have our close button here. And here we have the list of folders itself. Now we can resort these. So if we click on name, we can sort them in alphabetical order. If we click again, it'll sort it in reverse alphabetical order. If we click on the column here which says date modified, it will sort it by date or type or size. So that's all different ways of sorting the same thing. If we go to view, we can view them as different things. We can view them just in folder mode. And that's in large icons, extra large icons. We can show them as medium icons. We can show them as a list. We can show them as small icons. We can show them as details, which is my preferred one because we see a little bit more information. We can see the date they were actually created, and what sort of folder they are, and the size of it as well. So that's my personal preference. Anyway, enough of that for the moment. Let's just close that folder down. Right, let's have a quick word about the Start menu. The Start menu. Here we have, if we click on there, we pop the Start menu up. The first thing we will see is down the left-hand side, we have at the top, we have the name of the current logged in user. This is Jason. If we right click on that, we can change the account settings, we can log it, or we can sign out. We can also jump to a different user. So if someone is logged in, you come to the computer and it's logged in to one of your to someone else, you can click on that and then log in as yourself. Now that won't log them out, they'll still be logged in, but they'll be logged in the background, so all their documents and stuff will stay open, but you'll be able to also use your own logged in profile. However, bear in mind that if they've got lots of program stuff open, the machine might start running rather slowly because it's actually running two sets of programs all at the same time. So that's your logged in user. And then here is a shortcut to the documents folder. So you click on that, that opens up the documents. You've got pictures, that's a shortcut to the pictures folder. Here's settings and power. Right, settings. Let's have a quick look at the settings. If we click on settings, this is where we can actually change settings on the computer. So there's all sorts of things you can do in here. So for instance, if you click on system, you can look at things like your sound settings. What's the maximum volume level? What inputs are you using for sound devices, and so forth. You can look at display. Do you want to change the scale of the display to make text and everything bigger or smaller? Do you want to use multiple displays? There's lots and lots of different options. I wouldn't get too excited, too carried away with these at the moment, but this is where you'll find things if you need to make changes to your setup. If you don't know where a particular setting is, you can just type it in there. Just type in sound and you'll see sound settings, sound mixer options. So it'll help find it for you. So those are some of your settings. You've also got things like time, current time and date. Do you want to set it automatically? Do you want to set it manually? Do you want to change set the date and time manually? How do you want to synchronize it? Do you want to synchronize it automatically? Where is your time zone? If you're traveling and you go to a different time zone, you may want to change the clock on your computer. This is where you can do all those sort of things. So that's your settings. And down the bottom here, you have your power options. If you click on power, you have the options to sleep, which will just put the computer into a low power use mode, which will conserve battery, but allow you to continue working without closing your applications in your documents. Shutdown will actually shut the whole thing down, so it'll turn the computer off, but it takes longer to start back up. It's much slower to start up from shutdown than sleep. So if you're just pausing for a bit to go and have a cup of coffee, put the machine to sleep rather than shutting it down. And restart will shut it down and then start it up again. So there's your power options. Okay. Right. Oh, I just actually pressed the restart button, which I didn't mean to do. Okay, so it's shut down. Get rid of that. Now it's starting back up again. Okay, so I'm back up and running. Okay, so if we open the start menu again, excuse me. So that is the left hand pane. In the center, we have a list of all our documents. Everything from our calculator, our calendar, camera. There's various other ones, Java, email, Media Center, Microsoft Edge, it's your web browser, one of your web browsers, Microsoft Store. And going down here, we have Windows accessories. Inside Windows accessories, we've got a number of different things, including Notepad, which is just a very simple text browser. Your weather app, and you've also got WordPad, which is which we'll go into later, which is useful for writing documents and letters and so forth. Then on the right hand side, here we have a number of options. These are just shortcuts for frequently used applications, the application tiles. So we can just click on any of those and it will launch it. So rather than having to go into here in detail, you can just click on any of these. So if I want to launch the calendar, I just press calendar there and that will launch. I could have also gone in here and gone calculator there. That would have done exactly the same thing. Right. You can remove items from there. If we right click on any item, we can remove those. You can unpin them from the start menu, and we can move them around. Okay, so we can just click and drag those about and change the order of them. We can put different things on there. We have lots and lots of different options. So if we click that, I can click and drag that and move that into there. If I for instance wanted my WordPad in there, I could go to accessories because it's a little buried, this one. It's quite a useful one. So I click that, I drag it, and I'm going to put it down there. There we go. So I've got WordPad there. Nice and handy. Okay, so that's our start menu. Right, our search box. Now, as I said, if we want to start up an application like WordPad, we could go here, we could go down to here, we go to Windows Accessories, we go to WordPad, and we can launch WordPad. We can also go here, and now we've put the shortcut in here, we can launch WordPad that way. What we can also do is, if we want to launch, say we want to launch Calculator, but we can't be bothered to go through those menus, we can just type the name of the application, Calc or WordPad. We can type it in there and launch it that way. It's another way of doing it. Now, the search button isn't just searching for applications. You can also search for documents. So if I knew, if I want to search for letter, because I know a thing called letter 1, there we go, letter1.rtf. I click on it, it's opened up my letter. Notice that postcode, BN1 1AA. If I couldn't remember what I'd called the letter, I could type in BN1 1AA in there. And then if I click on documents, you see it's brought that up. All I typed in there was that postcode, and it's found that letter. Because when you save a document, Windows actually indexes it. It indexes not just the name, but it indexes all the content of the letter as well. So you can search for a phrase or a particular word or whatever, and it will search the entire computer for that particular phrase. So it's a very good way of finding things using the search box. Okay, the next area I will go into more detail is the notification area, which is here. So notifications just show us what is actually currently running. Now, if I open up WordPad, so I have WordPad there. Okay. If I open up a document, I will see it appear down here. So, for instance, if I open up Firefox, I can see a little blue area under the base of here that shows me that Firefox is currently running. Okay. If I want to add another application to there, I can start it up. If I want to remove something from there, I can click on there and go unpin from taskbar. And that will remove it from the taskbar. Okay. Sorry, I didn't have enough space on here. If we click on WordPad now, you see it's got a blue line under there. When I close it down, it still remains there because I've pinned it to the taskbar. If I unpin that from the taskbar, and I go here and then I launch WordPad, WordPad will appear there and it's underlined in blue at the bottom. If I close it down, it disappears. But if I want to keep it there, so I have a quick access to it, rather than having to click on the start menu and go to it, if I right click on it, I can then select pinned taskbar. Now when I close it down, it stays up there permanently. So that is my notifications. That's my taskbar. Notifications area. Right, the notifications area is next to that. That is down here. And that shows some key settings. So here we see the network. So I've got internet access is turned on at the moment. I've got a fully charged battery and my speakers are at 73%. If I click on the speakers, I can change the volume. If I right click on there, I can change the settings. So I can open my sound settings. That would have been exactly the same as going to the start menu, going to settings, and then selecting sound. So that is my notifications area. Here we have the actions area. If I click on actions, I can see any Windows messages that I need information on. So it's suggesting I turn my firewall on. That's off at the moment. Photos Media Engine add-on just got installed. Check it out. So something's just been installed. And it also gives me some access to some frequently used settings panes. If I click expand, I've got access to more of them. If I want to move those, I can click on them. I can open up by click on them, or I can right click on them and then edit quick actions. I can then move them around as necessary. Hit done when I'm finished. Okay, so that is my actions area. Files, folders, and windows. Okay. As I mentioned before, we've got your files here, you've got folders here, and then when you open up a particular folder, you get a window. The other way you can access this is by going to the File Explorer. So if we click on there, that actually gives us access to the contents of your hard drive. It's a bit like a filing cabinet. So at the top of the tree you have this PC. If we click on this PC, we then have our Documents folder. If we look in our Documents folder, we've got all sorts of subfolders in here. If I have a look inside a particular folder, I've then got documents within that folder. So we can create more folders by clicking on the new folders icon. Notice there's a shortcut there, so that's Control Shift and N. So if you press Control Shift and N, that will create a new folder. So car. If I go into car, that will give me information on my car stuff. Right. So there I can see there's my documents folder, admin, home, and work. Right, so when you actually enter a document, how do you work with that document? So let's go back to this letter I created earlier. So if I double click on this, I can see it. Here is a letter which I have written. So to select things, if I wish to type something, I can just type it in here. Oh, now I don't want to have it in here, so I'm going to put my click by it, and then I'm going to press the delete button 3 times, delete that word. I could also click twice on that word, click, click, and that will select the whole word. Rather than going click, delete, 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 instead of that I can go click, click, delete. If I wanted to make something bold, I could click, click to select it, and then press B for bold. If I wanted to make it unbold, I press B again. Bold, italic, underlined, italic, bold, bold, italic, underlined. If I want to change the font for that whole sentence, I might want to change that to Arial Black. I don't like that. I want to put it back to how it was. So I'm going to do an undo. Control Z, undo. Okay. I want to indent that. Decrease indent, increase indent. There it's indented. Decrease indent. Well, bullet points. I could start a bullet point list. Do I want to change the line spacing? Do I want to change centering it? So I may want to center that. I may want to align it right. I may want to align it left. Lots of options in there. Cut, copy and paste. Okay, now say I want to copy what's on here and use this particular sentence somewhere else. I can select it by clicking, holding down the mouse and dragging, selecting the whole sentence. Alternatively, I could triple click, select the whole paragraph. But if I select the whole sentence and then I do copy or Control C, I can then move to somewhere else and then I can do paste or Control V and I've pasted it. You also see another one there, cut. Cut is very similar, but instead of leaving it where it is, when you do cut, it will remove it and then allow you to paste it in. So that's cut and paste. Now, cut, copy and paste is not just used within the same document. You could copy a piece of, you could copy a, say a web address. If you have if you've got a email, if you've got a web address in a letter and you want to try opening that up, you could select it, copy it, and then you go to your web browser and paste that in. So that's copy and paste between applications. There we go. Right. Okay, so there we have a very quick overview into the Windows 10 operating system. If you have any questions, please do email us and we hope to join you in a future course. Thank you very much.